Welcome to InterPartyConflict, the podcast where we answer your questions so you can have the best tabletop gaming experience possible. My name is Gabe.
And my name is Jeff.
And we're going to answer your questions today. But first, I have a question, Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
Pretty good. Yeah, so it's October. I mean, by the time this episode goes out, it will be well into October.
Yeah.
But, it's October. It's my favorite month of the year.
Yeah.
October's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I've been watching a horror movie every day.
That's right.
Every day of the month. I will continue to do so. And
don't you do that every year usually? Or
I guess
some form of something. Unless the last few years.
One of the last couple of years, I either stopped halfway through or didn't do it entirely. I can't remember. It's because I don't always have time.
Right. Yeah. But you do little marathon / like reviews.
I do. Yeah.
Like
so I write a fairly in-depth review for each of them. And so this year, I'm actually trying to exclusively do movies I haven't seen.
Sure.
Because, I asked for recommendations on Facebook and such, and like a lot of people were recommending like the classics. And I mean, I've already seen a lot of the classics. Sure. And what am I going to say that isn't? How can I give a good in-depth review that isn't just a repeat of what somebody else that I've already read somebody else say? So I'm trying to do movies I haven't seen, and so far it's been pretty good. I've watched a good assortment of them, and it's been a lot of fun. I really like doing it. I really like October.
Yeah. Any like really bad ones so far?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So I've watched I want to say 5 or 6 of them so far, and one of them that I watched was The Dark Tapes.
Okay.
It was found footage. A lot of the ones that were recommended for me this year are found footage. And I don't like found footage movies. They can be done well, and I do vow to give each one a fair try. Like although I am going in with a bias, I am trying to judge it on its own merits.
Sure.
However, there are some that don't understand why a movie would be found footage. There are some movies that abuse the fact that it is found footage.
Yeah.
They want you to have that visceral reaction to it as if what you're watching is real. However, they also want you to suspend your disbelief because it's just a movie.
Yeah.
And you can't have both of those. If you're going to make something found footage, it is because you want the audience to, on some level, think that it is real. So you can't be like, oh, just ignore that part where you can see the camera crew just off stage, or just ignore that really bad CGI that we didn't put money into because obviously we're doing this to save money.
Yeah. Isn't that like Cloverfield? It's like it's a found footage movie. It's the shaky cam movie, right?
Yeah.
It's like because they're using the found footage shtick not for this could be real, but just like,
well, I mean, to an extent, they are like, yes, you're watching a monster movie, but when you're watching it and it is presented to you as like this is someone's handheld camera footage, then part of your brain is like, whoa, this is real. Therefore, it is scarier. Mm-hmm. And I mean, yes, you do suspend your disbelief to some extent.
Yeah.
But when it is a factor of like this is clearly a low budget movie or whatever. Like, I'm not as critical. If I watch Harry Potter, I'm not going to be like, whoa, magic isn't real. But
I could see the strings.
But if I watch something that is based on a true story, if it's like, inspired by true events, and then like Superman flies in the window, I'm like, whoa, hang on a second. You're abusing the inspired by true events thing.
Right, yeah.
There is an acceptable level of that and an unacceptable level, and a lot of the time it is not. Another thing, Cloverfield is one of those movies where it's like, why are they still filming?
Yeah, exactly.
The best found footage movies give a reason for why they're still filming. It is not just, because then there wouldn't be a movie. The Blair Witch Project, it's not the first found footage movie, but it is one of the most influential.
Right,
one that popularized the genre.
Yeah.
In Blair Witch, there is reason given for why the main character, Heather, keeps filming. It is because she is so distraught at being lost in the woods that filming it makes her feel like she is escaping. It makes her feel like this is just a movie. I don't have to be scared.
Giving her a sense of control.
Yes, and the characters call her out on that. Mm-hmm. They use in that movie, in Paranormal Activity is another really good one. They use the genre they use the medium deliberately because it wouldn't have worked as a different medium.
Yeah.
When I'm watching a lot of these, there's another one that I watched that wasn't bad. It just wasn't great, and that one was called Nightlight. And in that one, I had to ask, why was this a found footage movie? it could have been a regular movie, and 99.9% of the experience would have been exactly the same if it was just a, on a tripod movie.
Yeah. I feel like, to me, what hits me the most with like found footage and shaky cam stuff is it's just agitation. It's just another form to get under your, like another way for them to get under your skin. It's like, well, I can't see you keep moving around and it's low quality or it's shaky or whatever.
Yeah.
Or it's got like a filter over it that makes it look like found footage or something. It's like, it's just a way to bother you. It's like putting like a noise in the background that's not, necessarily like part of like the dialogue or the soundtrack or something like that. It's just like a weird, like, just like something that is unsettling.
Okay.
So it's just a way to unsettle the viewer, but it just ends up annoying me. It's like I'm not gonna sit through a shaky, movie. It's not,
and it bothers you because it's poorly done. If they had done it well, there are examples of that sort of thing being done well. Anyway, so how are you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing all right.
Yeah,
I am enjoying the cooler weather. I like, if it's over 70, I am in most cases miserable unless I'm like in like shorts or something like that.
Sure.
So like, it's, Michigan weather is a little tricky because it like in the morning, it's like this morning it was like 50 degrees. So it was fairly chilly. Yeah. And it's like, all right, I'm going to wear pants. But then it got up to like low mid 70s, I think. Or at least it felt like it to me. I don't know. And I'm sweating and miserable. And
right. It's been going back and forth pretty bad.
Yeah. Which, is messing with like sinuses and stuff. And it's not a lot of fun, but I am glad as far as I can tell, we're out of the 80s.
Yeah.
We're out of the 80s in Fahrenheit. Sorry.
Right. Oh my goodness, we're burning up. Not quite. But one more thing about October. I've come up with, I think I know what we want to do for our Halloween episode.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I do love me some Halloween episodes of the show. So
yeah, we can make a reference to a thing we did on another podcast, I think.
I think so. Yeah. So stay tuned for hopefully some cool stuff later on this month.
Yep.
I love Halloween. I'm a total sucker for it.
Right.
I guess you want to go ahead and get into this episode, Jeff?
Sure.
Okay. So, Jeff, I want you to imagine you just joined the Army. You were drafted.
Okay.
Whether it was your choice or not, you were drafted. You signed up for the draft and you got drafted. No, whatever you want, however opinion you want to have of that, go for it. But so you go in, you complete your physical and your registration, and you're assigned to be a private under a Sergeant Redtooth. Because that's a name.
Yep.
That's a name.
I believe it.
Redtooth looks a little crusty, like he hasn't showered in a while.
Oh gosh.
And he always has a flushed red face, probably because he yells a lot.
Oh yeah.
He's also very tall. Over the course of boot camp, you and your fellow privates endure rigorous training and are taught the mantra, "We are forged in fire, though many we are one." Eventually, you're ready to finish boot camp. Sergeant Redtooth lines you up with all your fellow soldiers. Lined up with all of them, you realize that you've all grown to look a bit more like Redtooth. You and the other soldiers have gotten pretty scaly and have kind of red skin.
Uh-huh.
You're also 20 feet taller and can breathe fire.
Oh, man, this is great training.
I'm proud of you, Redtooth rumbles. You've completed training. We are forged in fire. Through many, we are one. You are part of us now. Welcome to the Dragon's Horde.
Man, I can breathe fire now? Tax dollars at work. Dang.
Yes. And that was submitted by Nathan C. And that was a very clever ending because Horde is spelled Horde.
Okay.
Because you are part of the Dragon's Horde.
Gotcha.
Not the Dragon's Horde, but the Dragon's Horde.
Very good. Very good.
Got it? You got it, Jeff?
I get it.
All right.
I get it.
Yeah, so thank you very much, Nathan C., for that intro. Today's magic item was submitted by David J. via email. And the item is the legendary scabbard of Los Tres Espadas. The legendary scabbard of Los Tres Espadas holds a weapon of many wonders for the wearer. If not specified, the type of sword drawn will be a rapier. and using the rapier while wearing the scabbard for 1 day will grant proficiency. So if you're not proficient in a rapier, you can become proficient in a rapier.
Awesome.
At the request of the wearer, the sword type can be changed once permanently. Any sword from offhand to versatile in size can be drawn, and the scabbard will grant proficiency after 1 day. Daggers and two-handed swords are not allowed. I wonder if, like, if this is meant to be a unique item, I wonder if maybe you could allow someone else to permanently change it later on. I don't know. I'm
I wonder if it's permanent or if it just means like it's instantaneous, as in like it'll until you change it again, it just stays that way.
Yeah, I don't know. I like it being long term. I don't like it being permanent.
Okay.
Anyway.
Yeah.
While the scabbard only yields 1 sword, this sword can be split if the wielder is not sober.
What?
In addition to consuming alcohol, a minor action must be used to perform some dramatic sword flourish. At DM's discretion, the same minor action can be used for both the drinking and the flourish, so you can do them both at the same time. Whatever motions are involved in the flourish, the wielder must make a dexterity check that does not fail unless the wielder rolls a 1. If a 1 is rolled, the sword is thrown, and any creature watching this for the first time must spend its action this round laughing uncontrollably. On any other roll, the flourish succeeds, and the sword is split into 2 swords. 1 for each of you. Both identical to the first one. Attacking with 2 weapons is never a problem for the wearer of the scabbard of Los Tres Espadas, as it passively grants the wielder ambidexterity, 2-weapon fighting, and any other feats necessary for establishing both hands as primary hands, capable of wielding a primary weapon. Both hands are still not considered primary outside of sword fighting, thus acts of thievery, etc. will not be augmented with the scabbard. So I think this was written for like 3rd edition or 3.5, because those did require feats in order to be ambidextrous.
Although I'm sure you could find some way to still fit it in.
Oh yeah, I mean, like you could just do it, or you could grant them the 2-weapon defense feat, whatever the feat is in Player's Handbook. Anyway,
there's a few extra things.
Yeah, that is not a problem. Once per day, when properly intoxicated and also properly enraged, the wearer of this scabbard of Los Tres Espadas gains the ability to sprout a 3rd invisible arm.
Okay, I love this item.
Which is then able to draw a 3rd invisible sword from the scabbard, which gives the wearer a 3rd melee basic attack each round.
Oh my goodness.
The intoxicated status needed can be set ahead of time by the DM with agency from the player, and the enraged status can be activated when the player is bloodied or in defense of another, when they are either too unskilled or too hurt to defend themselves.
Oh my gosh.
The 3rd arm and blade are not just invisible, but also insubstantial, meaning any attacks it makes cannot be blocked by physical barriers in the trajectory of its swing.
What?
Once activated, the 3rd arm power remains in effect until the end of the encounter. Afterward, it needs a long rest, complete with more drinking, to recharge. The 3rd arm is not directly controlled by the thoughts of the wearer. It makes its own decisions to the best of its ability based on the situation. For example, while it cannot technically tell ally from foe, it can telepathically sense which characters feel aggression towards its master. The targeted aggressive person need not be already attacking its master. The 3rd arm will swing so long as its master is actively attacking somebody. If the character stops attacking for a round, the 3rd arm will also not attack that round. Also, the spectral arm will always attack the same target its master was targeting until it falls prone, at which time it will immediately attack another character within melee range that feels aggressive towards its master. So that was that. We've actually had that for a long time. We haven't done it because it is quite wordy.
Right.
So that there's a lot to that, but
yeah,
it's a scabbard that when you're drunk, you can have 2 swords and an invisible 3rd arm that holds an invisible 3rd sword.
Well, okay, so like it's a very useful little scabbard because you could basically, I guess, learn proficiencies.
Yeah.
Or do you gain the proficiency forever, or?
Well, I mean, maybe that's why it's permanent, so you can only do it 1 time.
Maybe.
Or something. I don't know.
Huh. I mean, but it might be like, a way to like learn different, learn a proficiency. Like if there's like a specific weapon, like if a player wanted to use a specific weapon, but like their class and race and whatever didn't allow for them to have that proficiency, this would be an easy way to give them a magical item that allowed them to like, okay, this is a magical item. You pull it out, thinking of your favorite weapon, you pull it out of its sheath, and there it is, your favorite weapon, and using it for, holding it in your hand, you feel like, I could get used to this, and then you eventually learn the proficiency. And so that's a nice little way to like have the proficiency. It's really not that big a deal.
Sure.
Use your favorite weapon, have at it. The other stuff I love it so much.
Yeah.
Because it's like you get drunk and it turns into 2 because you're seeing double. So you go Doc Hollywood on them, and you got 1 for each of them.
Yep.
And so you got two weapons. So you're flailing them about. What's the thing about like if you roll a like? Hold on, I gotta see this again. I'm sorry.
It's it's fine. So it's when you get the second sword, you do a dramatic flourish with the sword.
Okay.
And that's what creates the second sword. However, you make a roll. Nothing bad happens unless you roll a 1.
If you roll a 1, the second weapon goes flying. I think the whole thing just flies out of your the one, because it's just one sword at the time. Yeah.
Flies out of your hand and everybody laughs at you.
But okay, so if the sword is thrown, and any creature watching this for the first time must spend an action in this round laughing uncontrollably. Yeah. So it's still it's a benefit still.
Kind of, yeah.
You lose your weapon, but you put somebody out for an action.
Sure.
Like everybody around that saw it for the first time. You know, it's like they'll just start laughing, and you're like, well, at least I could spend this or it might distract them enough for your team to come in and like, I don't know, you become like the little like a bumbling distraction.
Yeah, it's got a use.
Yeah,
but if you could somehow set that up, that would be impressive.
But then otherwise, it basically gives you 2 weapon fighting.
Yeah,
you know, in its best form. You know, while you're drunk.
Yeah.
And then if you're drunk and then also raging.
So if you're an angry drunk.
So yeah, if you're an angry drunk, if you somehow have rage ability.
Well, it doesn't even have to be the rage ability. It's just
enraged.
It's just properly enraged. Just like sorry, what was the text on that?
Once per day.
Oh, it's whenever you're bloodied or defending someone else.
Oh, okay.
So like this also has some shades of 4th edition, because bloodied was a condition.
That's true.
So just whenever you're at half health.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, like at half health, or maybe you could say like if you're also like raging.
Sure.
Counts.
I would.
Like,
I would allow that.
Like if you're using like a barbarian rage, that counts.
Yeah.
You know, there's other ways to trigger it as well. But then you get a third arm, a third spectral arm. Yeah. They just like that is like it's like an embodiment of your anger.
Yeah.
And it just starts attacking stuff. It's just like, I can't get it. I hate to know.
I kind of wish it wasn't invisible.
Sure. It's just like you get so mad that you flex another arm out of your back or something.
I mean, just like it maybe it wouldn't necessarily work in the narrative, but like if just like you just got 3 arms, like they're a third arm comes from somewhere and hits the guy. There was a time when we were doing the Age of Worms. Steve's character, Shadowhand Silverbones, it's a long story, but basically he was wearing a suit, and the suit was also his bag of holding, and the bag of holding had a gnome living in it.
Oh, right.
And at one point they were at a party. You guys were at like a dinner party.
Oh, right, yeah.
He's talking to somebody, and I casually told him that while he's like having a chat with somebody, he's like eating something, and a hand just reaches up out of the jacket and wipes his mouth off and then goes back in.
Right.
And he doesn't notice it because his character is so oblivious.
Right.
But the person he's talking to just like, what just happened?
Yeah, just like, kind of dabs his mouth with
I kind of like the idea of the third arm being occasionally visible. It's just like, well, I got both of his arms, but a third one hit me for some reason.
Well, I mean, it does have like the added thing where it goes through physical stuff. I'm not sure what that exactly means.
So it's like
Ghost touch?
No, ghost touch is the other way around. It's like brilliant energy or whatever. So it passes through armor.
Okay, so it'd be like you go with like a touch AC or something like that. I guess,
yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I really like it. You just get drunk and angry,
or to put it more in like to put it more in context, like maybe you swing at someone, you swing another, they like hold up like a broken piece of the table to block it, and then your third arm just punches them through that. Well, I guess it doesn't punch them, but whatever.
So okay, like I think bringing this into 5th edition, there it's the way 2-weapon fighting works is like you get like you can use your bonus action to attack with your offhand.
Yeah.
So this would give you that ability, and then the third hand would just make it so that you get two attacks.
You get 2 attacks with that bonus.
With that bonus action.
Yeah, but like I mean, there are some rules about how the third attack functions. It's almost like the DM is controlling the third attack.
Right, yeah.
You know?
So yeah, it'd be more like it's like it kind of like your bonus action attack like cleaves in a way or something like that.
Sure.
You know, like I mean, in most cases, it's gonna just attack the thing you were attacking anyway.
Right.
But not always. So like the DM could like say like, all right, your third hand actually hits the guy next to him or something like that.
Yeah.
Or like turns around and
hits the guy that was sneaking up behind you.
Oh sure, yeah,
There
like
you go.
yeah. Going like if you were doing a barbarian, like barbarians like they can't get snuck up on as well or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
They can't be caught unawares in certain ways,
Yeah.
like a danger sense or something like that. I can't remember what it's called, but like that's sort of like a manifestation of that in a way.
Right.
I really like this item. I want it. I want it. I want it. I want to put it in every campaign.
Yeah. All right.
Great.
All right. Well, I'm glad you liked it. So I don't really have much else to say. Like I said, it's pretty. There's a lot of mechanics to it, but I think it's an interesting item. So thank you very much, David J, for submitting that. Jeff, if anybody wanted to submit their own magic items for the Dragon's Horde, or if they wanted to submit a funeral pyre story for us or questions for us to discuss, how would they get those to us?
They could send us an email at interpartyconflict@gmail.com or join us on our Interparty Discord at bit.ly/interpartydiscord.
That's correct. And before we go any further, we have a giveaway today.
Woo!
We are giving away a copy of Chapel on the Cliffs. It is a great low-level adventure courtesy of Goblin Stone. Goblin Stone is a group of content creators based in the UK that make some great stuff.
Yep.
So, Jeff, who is our winner of Chapel on the Cliffs today?
Our winner this week is Skip Monkey.
Whoa, winner. Gobble, gobble, gobble. Yes, congratulations, Skip Monkey. Mr. Monkey, I guess. So Skip Monkey, thank you very much for entering. You should be getting that in your email in the next few days. Be sure to let Goblin Stone know what you think, because if they get your feedback, they can continue to make great products and make those products really good.
Yep. I was gonna say, with the whole October and Halloween thing going on.
Yeah.
This is a good adventure for that.
Absolutely. I mean, if you're going to have a game with your buddies on Halloween or close to it, that'd be great.
I mean, it's not too much of a spoiler because it's said right at the beginning. And I mean, it's kind of, it feels intended. It involves basically a cursed village.
Yeah.
And like, I almost want to say you might even be able to like reflavor some things and kind of like throw in like a trick or treat situation in there too, because you're kind of roaming through this. Like a lot of the adventure takes place in this like basically almost literal ghost town.
Yeah.
If there's a time to run this adventure,
It's right now.
it's right about now.
Yeah. So, Jeff, if anybody wanted to enter this drawing, if they want to be like Skip Monkey here, join the Monkey Clan and enter this drawing to win a copy of Chapel on the Cliffs, how would they do so?
They can send us an email at interpartyconflict@gmail.com with Chapel on the Cliffs in the subject line.
Yes, it is that easy. That's all you got to do. And we are always low on entrants, so you are very likely to win very soon. All right. And then I also want to thank all of our wonderful patrons for making all of this possible. We have a Patreon campaign at patreon.com/interpartyconflict. Patreon is an online platform where you can pledge to donate a certain amount of money to the content creator of your choice. And if you donate some money to us, we've got outtakes on there. We've got, I've written a bunch of fantasy fiction, which is on there. I'm not writing any new fantasy fiction, at least not immediately. But I'm recording fantasy fiction I've already written and then releasing it as audio.
Yeah.
By the time this goes out, I'm almost 100% sure that, I have gotten one of those out and I'm working on the next.
Sure.
So check those out. We've also got every month for one of the second tier, I have a little like patron update thing that I do where it's kind of just if you want to listen to me talk for an extra half an hour or so every couple weeks. I give like little short movie reviews. I talk about like what stuff that's going on in my personal life. I talk about stuff that's going on with the podcast that might not have made it on the air. I don't know. I think it's an interesting thing out there, and I am always curious if anyone's even listening to it.
Sure.
Occasionally, I'll get a response to one of them. But anyway, and then we've got a monthly Roll20 game every month, and so we've got some cool stuff on there. We're trying to make it fun for everybody and worth everybody's time and money. So if you want to support the show and get some cool stuff in return, go to patreon.com/interpartyconflict. Check out the rewards, see if anything appeals to you, and get some cool stuff in return.
Yeah.
All right. And then just one more thing. Check out the other podcasts on the Crit Nation Fellowship. Check out Crit Academy at critacademy.com. Justin, Ian, and Brandon create new and reusable content for players and DMs alike. And then also check out Brute Force and Ignorance. They are an actual play podcast on the network. And they have, and then D&D Character Lab has ended, but they are still, you can still listen to all their episodes that are already on there. Garen and Dan made characters every week.
Yeah.
And then debated whose characters were better.
And I still consider them part of the fellowship.
Oh yeah, definitely. So, it feels weird being like, and go listen to them.
Right.
I
mean, still
go listen to them,
yeah.
but I do feel the need to add that qualifier there.
And hey, that we did do an episode with them.
We did do an episode with them
for Halloween.
For Halloween.
So maybe when that comes around.
Yes. Yeah, that was a good episode.
Yeah, I think
so go check that out.
Yeah.
All right. You want to go ahead and get into some questions, Jeff?
Yeah.
Cool.
Our first question comes from Adam on email, and they ask, how would you feel about eliminating racial ability score bonuses and instead letting players have increased stats based on other criteria?
Yeah. So for anybody who is not familiar with racial ability score bonuses, maybe don't play D&D or you play, I think Pathfinder has kind of moved away from it. There was a time at the time of this recording. It is still that time.
Yeah.
Maybe sometime in the future it won't be. But when you make a character, one of the considerations is what race is your character going to be.
Sure.
And so, we've got humans, we've got elves, we've got dwarves, the whole everything, all sorts of stuff. Winged tieflings, all sorts. And when you make a character, in addition to having various special abilities, like Dragonborn can breathe fire.
Right.
Dwarves are resistant to poison, that sort of stuff. You also have increases. It used to be increases and decreases, but in 5th edition is just increases to your ability scores based on which race you chose.
Yeah. Was that the case in 4th edition as well?
In 4th edition, it was only increases. I think Pathfinder, ever since Pathfinder came out, everything since then has been just increases.
Yeah.
So yeah, like 1st, 2nd, and 3rd edition all had penalties as well as increases. So the reason being a half-orc is going to naturally be stronger than a human.
Right.
I mean, that doesn't mean a human can't be stronger, but it means that your average half-orc is going to be stronger than your average human.
Yeah, like if you basically rolled 10s in all of your stats, but then you would then apply your racial bonuses, an orc is going to come out stronger.
Right. If you were to take the essence of what your character is, and then you could say, well, I can make them an orc and they'll be stronger, or I can make them an elf and they'll be quicker, or I can make them a dwarf and they'll be hardier.
Mm-hmm.
Then that's kind of what that is.
Yeah.
It says nothing about an orc will always be stronger than every human or anything.
Yeah.
But if you take the base numbers, you'll get a bonus to this, whatever. So I don't know exactly how Pathfinder does it. Pathfinder 2.0 does it, but my understanding is that they took out racial ability score bonuses, and I think you can just choose them.
Sure.
I'm not positive, and I feel kind of dumb for not having looked that up.
Right.
But when this question was asked by Adam, Adam also included, there's a link to a page on D&D Beyond that is kind of, it's about this whole topic. He's basically asking, what do we think about this topic?
Sure.
And so the way that this proposed rule is that you take away ability score bonuses. Whatever your stats you rolled, those are just your stats to begin with. And then you can choose what your ability score increases are going to be, but they are based on other criteria. For example, one of the options is whatever your class is, you gain bonuses that benefit that class.
Okay.
Which, to be fair, is kind of how people have always used it.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, if you're going to play a half-orc, it's because you're going to play a fighter or a barbarian.
Yeah.
Or something that is going to use strength.
Yeah, in a lot of cases, people pick class first, race second, to race to benefit the class in some way.
And not always. I think we'll get to the specifics of this in just a minute, but that's how most people used it. Whatever, you know what abilities you want to have. So then, I want to be a rogue, so I guess halfling is a really good rogue, so I'll be a halfling, and then you get the bonuses to benefit your class. So this just kind of takes out the you can be whatever race you want.
Yeah.
You don't have to, you're not trying to optimize based on your race. It's just rogues are going to have a higher dex, fighters are going to have a higher strength, and so on. Another option, instead of choosing based on your class, you could have it be that whenever you make a character, it's based on your background. So if you're an entertainer, You know, you could be whatever class you want, but if your background is that you're an entertainer, you get a bonus to charisma and one other, you know, ability score of your choice. If you're a guild artisan, your intelligence goes up. If you're a hermit, your wisdom goes up, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I personally like this a little bit better. I guess I'll kind of talk about, so I said that most of the time you would, if you were going to play a half-orc, it's because you wanted to be a fighter. I also like that sometimes people would be like, well, it's not optimized, but I want to be a half-orc bard. Even in 3rd edition days when they, like, bards and wizards were terrible for half-orcs because they got a penalty to intelligence and intelligence and charisma.
Yeah.
You would still every now and then see someone that was playing a half-orc bard because they liked the flavor of it, even though it was so unoptimal stat-wise.
Right, yeah.
So
yeah, I feel like in the days when there were penalties, I feel like you saw more often those people who were like, I'm gonna go against that. Like I'm just gonna go like, all right, I'll get a penalty to that. That's what I'm doing. Like I don't care. Like I'm going to be like the charming, intelligent half-orc. Yeah. Even if it's going to cost me all of my good rolls or whatever. Or like all of my points or whatever.
I kind of like it being, because if you were doing the class-based one, then, well, your fighter is always going to have that +2 to strength.
Yeah.
You know, I guess you could just put a really low stat in strength, but I don't know. I like it being background related.
Sure.
Because then you can still have your class be separate from your ability score increases. And also background, I think, you know, that makes a lot of sense that like, well, yeah, I grew up on the streets, so I'm an urchin. And as a result, my dexterity my constitution is higher or whatever.
Yeah. Maybe you could do kind of both because like in 5th edition, it's in most of the races, it's like you get a +1 to one stat +2 to another.
Yeah.
I think with human, it's like you get a +1 in everything, or you can do
a +2 to one and then a feat.
And then a feat.
And a skill.
Or I think you could split that up into +1 to 2 things too.
I don't know.
I think so. Anyway, but so like you could do your class is giving you, so your fighter, your class is giving you a strength or maybe even dex. Who knows what kind of fighter you want to be. And it will give you a bonus to that, and then your background will give you a bonus to a different one, and it's your choice which one is 2 and which one is 1. So which is more influential to your character, your background or your class?
Okay.
You know, so you can like give it like a little bit more choice that way. So like you're a soldier, so your constitution would increase by 1 or 2. But you're also a fighter, so your strength goes up by 1 or 2. But like, are you more identified? Well, I guess soldier and fighter kind of the same thing.
kind of. They don't have to be.
Right, yeah.
But kind of.
Yeah, what identifies you more, your military service or your martial prowess?
Like you could be the guy who plays the drums.
Yeah.
You could be the guy who marches ahead and plays drums. And then you would be a soldier and a bard.
Right. So so your bard might give you charisma, but your soldier would give you constitution because like you still had to march.
Had to keep marching, yeah.
Yep.
Well, so it's funny that you mentioned this because there is a third option on here, and that is class and background. And the way that works is whichever one your class you choose, that's your +2, and then your background, that's your +1.
That was what I was going to suggest originally, but then I thought, well, maybe you could choose 2 with 1, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't, because you're basically choosing what you want anyway. Right. Like you're making the choice. It's just now it's not tied to your specific race, which I want to play a halfling barbarian.
Sure.
But I know that's going to there's going to be some penalties there. Like or I'm not going to be as optimal.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
Yeah,
like you're not getting the penalties anymore, so it's not that big of a deal.
And like just in case anybody was curious, you can be optimized and roleplay. Like wanting to play an optimal character and wanting to roleplay are two separate things. They can both be present. You can have both. Just because you're concerned about stats doesn't mean that you're not going to roleplay, and just because you want to roleplay doesn't mean that you don't care about stats.
Yeah. I mean, the way I make characters is like I make something optimal, and then I create a cool background idea behind it.
Yeah.
And the optimal thing was first, but that doesn't mean that the background thing I'm not going to put honestly, I don't put as much work into that, but that's just because I'm not a great role player and I'm not a great writer or anything.
Sure.
But like I like coming up with optimal builds, and then the challenge of turning that optimal build into like a nice fleshed out character, giving him some life. It kind of gives me something to work with other than just trying to come up with a character on a blank slate.
Yeah.
Like, because coming up with character ideas and stories and background stuff, that's my weakness. I use the optimization as like a scaffolding to create the character.
Yeah.
Because if you told me like, no, you have to come up with a character first and then the stats second, like I couldn't do it. Like it would take me it would just, I would come up with something really lazy.
You definitely be out of your depth.
Yeah. I would just like this. The character wouldn't be great. And then I'd have to make stats around it. And then that wouldn't be great. And then I wouldn't have a good time.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah. I'm pretty similar. I use whatever my high points and low points are to make what my personality is and what my character is. So yeah. I kind of like it being race-based personally, just because like, I mean, you're already going to be coming up with so many things from your character. I like having each one be as consequential. You know what I mean? I like having my race accounts for this much of my power. Yeah. My class represents this much power and my background this much.
I mean, you're still getting like the other racial stuff.
Yeah.
Because like every race has +2, +1.
Right.
Well, not every, but like
for the most part.
For the most part, it's +2, +1. So like it's the other stuff that makes the races like really stand out. Because like there are multiple races that have a +2 to con, +1 to wisdom or something. You know, other than the core, like, including more than just the core races. So like you can find, it's like, okay, I really want a bonus to my wisdom and I really want a bonus to my intelligence. I'm sure. I don't know if there is a race that has both of those, but
it's a good question. I'm
not 100%. I'm not 100% sure if there's like every combination or anything like that. Yeah. But like it's,
with all the DM's Guild stuff, I'm sure there is.
But I feel like the stats themselves don't really say much about the races like it is like a suggestion like, okay, orcs are stronger or, dwarves are more hardier.
Sure.
Elves are quicker. But like it's like the other stuff where like elves get an extra 5 feet to their speed. They're quicker.
Yeah, that is. I would say that in the end that is more interesting and could be more It could be more of a deal, more of a big deal than just having a +1 to something.
Halflings are lucky.
Yeah, lucky's amazing.
Like the halfling is my favorite race in 5th edition just because like it's just good.
Yeah,
like you get some downsides because of the small thing, but the being small is not as bad as it used to be.
Right.
So yeah, you get to ignore a 1. Like, and I don't even think that's like per turn or anything.
No, it's just like if you roll a second 1, you have to take it.
Right. Yeah. Like,
like how often are you rolling 2 1s in a row?
Yeah. So like for every
not that often.
For every roll you need to make, you get 1 redo if it's a 1.
Yeah.
And that's so good.
That's so good. That's going to cut out so many. Yeah. It's going to cut out 19 of your 21s.
Right. Like when are you going to get 2 1s in a row? Like it's it's not. Yeah. It's not as bad. I feel like in this case, I almost want to say like just let your players have whatever stat bonuses they want, and then like having these sort of guides to help them like tie it to their character's identity. So like, well, I want to be a half orc because I want to be a strong half orc because half orcs are strong. Like, okay, so your +2 to strength is coming from the fact that you're a half orc.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, but I also want to be, I also come from I'm also a folk hero or like I come from a family of an entertainers or something like that. So I'm actually kind of charismatic. So I want a +2 from my being a half orc, but I want a +1 to charisma because I was raised by entertainers. So it's like, okay, well, like half orc doesn't have a +1 to charisma, but I mean, why not?
Right.
Like, is it really going to be that much unbalanced? Like stats, I feel like if you're staying in the like +1 to +2 range, it's not going to break the game.
Yeah.
Especially if you're going off of something like point buy. Like nothing can ever be above from the beginning. Nothing can ever be above a 17.
Right.
Like they can't squeak in an 18 in there because they made up a thing. Like within those rules, like the standard array or the point buy or anything like that, you're still within the same range.
Right.
Like it's not gonna like, the best you're ever gonna do, is a +3 from your stat. And then like your class abilities or something like that might, take over from there.
Sure.
Proficiency or some other, feature that your class might give you. Cause I can't remember if there's ways to get like, like there are a couple of ways to get like a +1 at level 1, like, to your attack or something like that.
I think, I'm sure there are some ways.
I think like the Forage Domain Cleric can basically just...
Oh, right. Yeah. They can just make their weapon magical.
Yeah.
So like, overall, I don't think this is a bad idea. Like you were saying, just let your players do whatever they want.
Yeah.
That being said, I like races having the stat bonuses better, and here's actually a better way to articulate why I feel that way. I was listening to an episode of Hardy Dice Friends a long time ago, and they gave they gave a pretty good explanation for why class-based systems might be better or more favorable than non-class-based systems. Mm-hmm. The reason being, if I say to you, I'm playing a cleric, you have a pretty good idea of what my character can do. My character probably heals, probably wears armor, probably has a high religion skill.
Sure.
Maybe has some good strength or constitution or charisma. Or, you have an idea. You have a good silhouette of what my character is.
Right.
Fighter, same thing. There might be some outliers for maybe I'm a smart fighter, maybe I'm a really charismatic fighter or whatever.
Maybe use a bow mostly, but maybe a sword.
But I'm at least proficient in X number of things.
Right.
And then when you play a non-class based system, like a system like Mutants and Masterminds, where you have a bunch of points, you just put them into whatever you want.
Right.
It's a lot harder to in one word get across, or even a short sentence to get across what it is your character does.
Yeah.
Well, I heal. I'm really dexterous, and I can cast some arcane magic, I guess.
Right.
Okay. I mean, I guess I know what that means, but that's so you don't have as strong of an idea, and it took longer to get that across. Mm-hmm. Similarly, I feel like if you say I'm an elf, then even if you don't say what class you are, I have like a 75% chance of being sure that your character probably has above average dexterity.
Sure.
And your character probably, even if they aren't a rogue, they're probably a class that makes use of dexterity well. So similarly, if you say like, I'm a gnome, okay, I know that your character is probably a bit hardier. I guess with gnome, you probably think of like the magical stuff that they can do. But to some extent, you get an idea for what kind of things that character is good at just based on the class, on the race.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that that's the only way to look at it, but I like having that silhouette.
I'm not trying to say this is like inherently like bad or anything like that. It's just, but I mean, I feel like I'm more leaning towards the idea of just, base it on your race or your background or your class.
Yeah.
Because I don't like, I feel like it might make for maybe better inter-party conflict.
Okay.
Haven't had one of those dings in a while, I feel like.
Right.
That like, okay, like, I'm playing a half orc, but I don't have a +2 to my strength. I have a +2 to my, constitution because of my class or something like that.
Sure,
It's like, so like somebody be like, oh, you must be real strong. And it's like, well, you'd be surprised, or something like that.
I do like the idea of like, oh, well, this guy's playing a typical half orc with the bonus to strength and whatever, and then this guy's playing a half orc that he got his bonus to intelligence or whatever. Mm. I like the interplay there.
Mm. And I mean, you could still like if you wanted to play the orc with the low strength, high intelligence, you could still get that across by that's the way you put your points into.
Well, exactly.
Whatever,
and being a person that does like races having the racial bonuses and such, I feel like this kind of, it sidesteps an issue that I think everybody needs to have addressed at some point. I've mentioned it. I think I mentioned it before. I've definitely mentioned it in arguments online and such. Not every character needs a unique mechanic. Mm. What I mean is you always see those people that they're like, I want to play a character that is a half dwarf, half elf. Mm. And therefore I want my character to have some, I want to have this bonus from dwarf and this bonus from elf and then so on. And okay, if you want to do that, sure, whatever, your group's fine with it. I don't care. It's not my group. But I just want to say, like, why not just play the stats of a dwarf, but put a high stat in dexterity?
Sure.
You don't need to make up a new race just for your one character. You can take an existing race and then use what you do already have the ability to change up. You can change up your stats. You can just put a high stat in what you think you don't need to create a new mechanic for one character.
Well, they want it, they want some benefit to it,
True.
I don't necessarily see that. Like, I'm not saying that's a bad thing to want your character to have the extra bonus or something.
Everybody
like
wants
that.
their character to be unique. I'm not saying that the desire is wrong.
Right. Yeah. Like, that's what you're trying to do is make a unique character. You don't want to, like, unless you really like that barbarian the guy played last campaign, you're like, I'm going to make that guy's character last time. I'm just going to play that. I'm just going to continue that character.
Sure.
Like, it's like, just give it a different name. Use a different, instead of Bob, it's Job. I don't know.
So, like, I'm not trying to say that people shouldn't want their character to be unique, just that if you learn how to correctly use what's already there, then it'll open up so many more things. Like just creating one more race, okay, that solves one problem, but if you learn how to use what's already there, you can solve 10 problems.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and like, because I work from the optimization to the character, it's like, because I know where the optimizations are and I know what, like, if I had this thing, I would be improving the character more. Like, if I wanted to make my race unique in that way or something like that, it'd be too hard for me to not just go,
you have too many options.
Can I just also have dark vision? Like,
sure.
It's so hard not to just be like, it feels like I'm cheating, like it feels like I'm cheating because like I know where my weaknesses are because I'm optimizing my character. It's like, well, I could just get rid of those weaknesses if I talk to my DM and say, can I just have this cool thing that no other player could possibly have? Yeah. I don't know.
So I guess I just think that I feel like game design is pretty difficult. There's a lot to it. And I feel like taking away something that was maybe a deliberate choice, maybe it was just a holdover from back when people didn't understand how to make games. I honestly don't know. But I'm inclined to think that they've kept it and refined it over 5 editions. I like to think that there is value in still having it the way that they made it.
Yeah.
That being said, I'm just one person,
Sure.
I can see why people would like you were saying, just let your players do what they want.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's ever gonna be bad for your game. Just me personally, I like having this is what I have to choose from in this column. This is what I have to choose from in this column, and this is what I have to choose from in this column. And I like the way that they are situated right now. If you guys like, hey, I'll have the link for this particular reimagining ability scores thing in our show notes.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I personally like the way it is now.
Sure.
Doesn't mean it can't be improved, but I personally don't think that this is the way to improve it.
Sure.
I could be wrong. Maybe 6th edition will be very much like Pathfinder, where it's a lot more freeform. Maybe. And when that happens, I won't complain.
Yeah. Like, I feel like in the way that I'm playing recently, where it's like we're not going to get through a whole campaign. It's just not going to happen unless some big changes happen to people's schedules and stuff like that. It's just not likely.
Right.
So like in that, we're basically making new characters all the time. It's like, I'd rather just stick to the rules as they are. So everybody knows just where they stand.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like, if I knew that like, oh, we're totally going to be able to like play definitely weekly or monthly or something like that, and like it's going to be a long-term thing, I want people to be happy with what they got. It's like, if you want to make some changes to a few things, like I really want to play a half-orc who is a bard.
Yeah.
But it just sucks that I'm not going to be as efficient as this other race as a bard, but I just really want to play that character. It's like, well, we're going to be going through all 20 levels with this. I want you to be happy. Instead of your +2 to strength, you have +2 to charisma. There you go.
Sure.
Like, no big deal. It's not going to break anything.
Yeah.
It really isn't.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's of course more to be said about this, but I think we've done a good enough job of covering it. I've got my opinions on it. I'm not saying I really want to reiterate, like, I'm not saying that you are wrong to disagree with me. I am a stick in the mud for a lot of things. So I don't want everybody to agree with me.
Yeah,
but I do want to get my personal opinion out there.
Yeah, don't look at Gabe's Reddit post history.
Jeez, I've been little disclaimer for listeners. Before we started recording, I've been arguing with people online about who cares what it's
Should
about.
we just have this be our next question, Gabe?
No, because we're done with questions.
Our next question from Gabe is, on Facebook, he says, go on.
So anyway, there was a rules dispute that I was having on Reddit, and to be fair, I think that there's a lot of evidence on both sides.
Yeah,
the people I'm arguing with don't think that there's a lot of evidence on both sides, but I think that there is. I think it can be seen multiple ways. No individual way. There's so much to get wrong about this.
See, but the funny thing is when you posted the question and I read it, and then I saw you didn't immediately state your side.
I did eventually, but I didn't want to. I want to see what that's the thing. I get
that. No, that's a good way to do it, because you don't want to you don't want to ask somebody's opinion and then say what you think before they say their opinion.
Don't be like, what's your favorite color? It's red, right? Come on, it's red. Why? It's red, right?
Yeah, it's like, or even if you just say like, what's your favorite color? Mine's red. They might go like, oh, that's a good color. But,
I don't want to. I want to see what other people's opinions are. I posted this on the Discord. I don't want to taint that by giving my opinion.
But it's just like, when that happened, like when you pose a question in that way, it's like I know Gabe's opinion is going to be different from mine in this. Like if you say a question, if you pose a question without saying what you think the answer is, I'm like, there's going to be something here. Like there's going to be something going on.
So then I posted it to Jeff, because Jeff mentioned like last he had seen the Discord, I hadn't given my opinion. I have since. Like I did reply to one of the other people that were on there, but. Jeff and I had this discussion, and we saw very differently about this.
But like, you could. So should we just say what it is?
Well, yeah. So the question is, is a Rakshasa immune to the effects of the silence spell in 5th edition D&D?
So Rakshasas are. It says like they say they are immune to the effects of 6th level and below spells.
Yes.
That's basically all the description is. It's like 6th level spell and below, they are immune to the effects.
Right.
Now, there are plenty of spells that like they're not necessarily targeting a specific creature,
right?
Or they're creating something. They're creating an effect that is like the magic creates the effect, but the effect itself is not magical. It's mundane in a way.
Sure.
So the one you brought up that made me think twice was fog cloud. Fog cloud.
Like, can a Rakshasa see through fog cloud?
Like, it creates a fog cloud.
The fog is just there.
The fog is, it's obscuring. So, like, is it just like, oh, the fog doesn't exist?
Right. And, I mean, like, the problem here is that the magic immunity ability the Rakshasa has is very poorly worded.
Yeah, I feel like it just needs more specifics to it.
And the reason that I came at this with such a strong, my opinion was that they would not be immune to silence, because the silence isn't affecting them, it's affecting the area. The area has no sound.
Right.
Now, the reason that I came in with like, oh, this has to have a definite answer is because in earlier editions, it was very clear what a Rakshasa was immune to. Mm-hmm. Because in 3rd edition, at least, 3rd edition and 3.5, every single spell had a little line in their description saying whether or not it was subject to spell resistance. Spell resistance was a relatively simple mechanic in early editions that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
So every single spell either was or was not subject to spell resistance. And the Rakshasa's immunity was just, they have unbeatable spell resistance. You're guaranteed to roll whatever it is necessary to defeat a spell with your spell resistance.
Right, yeah, so the mechanics matched up to make sense.
Yes, yeah. So there was no question of whether or not they were affected. You just look at the spell's entry. Does it say spell resistance? Yes, they're immune. Does it say spell resistance? No, they're not immune.
Right.
And so that isn't there anymore. Instead, it's just no spell affects the Rakshasa, but does that mean if you use the catapult spell to launch a physical rock at the Rakshasa, do they take damage or not? A spell affected it by launching the rock.
Right.
But it's the rock that's actually doing the damage. And you seem, well, I don't want to get...
because I was like, well, okay, its magic is propelling the rock or whatever. Yeah. And then you pose like, well, okay, mage hand knocking a rock off of a cliff.
Yeah, if that falls, I mean, a spell did it. The dispute was, is the magic of the catapult spell propelling it the whole time? Or is it just initial bam, it launches it, and then it's all inertia?
And it was instantaneous, so, but I mean, yeah, it needs clarification.
Yes, I think there is adequate reason to rule either way, or there's even more than one. For silence, there's two ways to rule, but there's other spells that people are coming out of the woodwork and being like, well, this spell shouldn't affect them. There's even a sage advice where Jeremy Crawford says a Rakshasa could walk through a wall of stone.
Right. I think like that feels lazy.
Yeah. Because
it's like, well, okay. I mean, yeah, that is what the rules is written. Technically, I feel would work. But it just doesn't feel right. And if you go back to the early editions where there was like, okay, obviously you couldn't spell resist a stone wall that was created with a spell. Sure. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
Right.
Like how?
Yeah. I don't know. So it is, I don't even remember how we got on this topic just now, but that was an issue that like, I wish we had caught that on. I wish we had recorded that because I feel like you and I, we rarely disagree about stuff on the actual podcast. And the one time we were actually having like a, not heated, but like an enthusiastic argument about something we disagreed on. We hadn't hit record yet.
Right. Yeah. So we just want to bring that up. Yes. It's like,
oh goodness.
Yeah. So like it absolutely needs clarification because there's no way that this, fight isn't happening at every game table when this sort of thing comes up.
Definitely.
And it's going to split a group.
Yeah.
Like it's going to happen. Like
not every group, but a group somewhere.
A group somewhere is good. Like somebody's going to leave the table.
Right.
Like, and that's not good.
Yeah.
If that's the design of your game causes somebody to get up and just leave.
Right.
I mean, that's not great. I'm sure that's pretty hard to avoid. Like even in a simple board game, there's always a rules
dispute. As someone who argues online quite a bit, I can say firmly that people will complain about anything.
Right.
I mean, I'm including myself in that word people.
There's a story of it was Christmas morning and like my parents would always put like little stocking stuffers where it's just like a simple game, like a card game or something, like or a dice game or something like that. And one of them it was SpongeBob Uno.
Okay.
It was just Uno.
Yeah.
So there was a rules dispute. I don't know what it was. Mm-hmm. The whole family, except for my mother, was like, "This is the rule," and my mother was like, "No, it's this other thing." And we just kind of like went on for a while about it, and it just kind of went on with the game, and she was upset about it. The next morning, there was the SpongeBob Uno rule booklet.
Yeah.
Magnet to the fridge, highlighted in the spot where like she was right, and we're like, oh my goodness.
Yeah. So because I engage in arguing quite a bit, I do not like if I find out that I am correct about something, I do not flaunt it. Like I understand, hey, I've been on the other side before. I've been the person that like, oh no, I found out I was wrong. And I hate it when people brag about like, well, see, I was right. Like told you so.
Right.
Like, no, like we both had reason to believe what we believed.
Right.
One person's right and one person's wrong. Well, fine.
Right. Yeah.
And a lot of things, like I feel like the silence thing doesn't have a clear-cut answer because it's so poorly worded.
Right. Exactly. It's like, I mean, like it does have a clear-cut answer, but it doesn't make sense. It's bonkers. Sure. Like
the answer is and you can also walk through a wall of stone.
Right. Which is like, that's like that one is unreasonable.
Yeah.
And that's the one that they used in Sage Advice. It was like, I feel like it's just like, well, we don't want to we don't want to make it like, we don't want to do more work. It's whatever we put down. That's the way it was.
Right. Yeah. Anyway. I don't remember how we got on this. We're done with our regular questions.
To the social media questions.
Social media questions. Yeah. We actually don't have a ton of responses today, so I think this will go pretty
social quick. Media question. A Rakshasa. Does it work in a silence?
So last week's social media question was, how do you feel about tabletop RPGs as they appear in media? Do you recall your answer?
I think in a lot of cases it's a little cringy sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah.
And in most cases it's just inaccurate, but for the most part it's not like terrible, and like it's happening more and more and it's getting better and better.
Yeah. So I think that although it's not always great, it's the fact that it's happening at all is a good move.
Yeah.
So we got some opinions and some I think good and negative feedback or opinions on it. So On Facebook, Colin W. says, players are very typically portrayed as losers and socially awkward. I recently rewatched the fantastic Advanced Dungeons & Dragons episode of Community, and despite starting off with most of the study crew unenthusiastic about playing it, it was nice to see all of them coming into their own as in a very consequential and impactful game. Mm-hmm. I also noticed that they streamlined the game by having Abed, the DM, do all of the rolling. A lot of the time they do streamline stuff like this because you don't need to bog down everything with whatever.
Yeah. And even like the current like trend of like real play podcasts and like, or even like the more mainstream stuff, like there's like the Harmon Quest stuff and like that. It's like, that's like edited.
Very much.
You know, they're playing, but it's edited and it's streamlined in some ways.
And just quick word of advice to anybody who's making an actual play podcast, please edit your game. Like, it may be very fun and enjoyable for you playing the game, but when people listen to it that were not present, they're going to notice all of the like rules lookups and crosstalk and side conversations and like, such.
Yeah, if you got the time to do it, it's worth doing.
I would argue if you don't have the time to do it, you don't have time to release a podcast.
Sorry,
I'm a curmudgeon. I know.
Sure.
Go on.
Like, well, it's the whole thing of like, you know, if you're trying to put out content, I think it's better to put out consistent. You know, if it's bad content, as long as you're consistent, you know, like somebody who enjoys it is going to enjoy that you're still doing it. I don't know.
That's true, but don't use that as an excuse.
Right. You know, always try to improve.
Yes, please always try to improve.
Yeah.
Anyway, Steve A says it's typically pretty disappointing. I've had people tell me I should watch Big Bang Theory because they play D&D on that show, but their eyes get crossed when I try to explain that they're using my hobby as a punchline rather than accurately portraying it for the great team-based storytelling that it is. I think times are improving, though, and at the end of the day, more people being exposed to tabletop RPGs is a good thing.
Yeah, I agree with this one a lot, actually, just because like there are plenty of times where my sister will just text me and say like, hey, they did a nerd thing on this thing that I watched.
Yeah.
Like you should watch this, or like, what do you think of it? I want to like, although like she's half teasing me and half like genuinely curious about
sure.
Is this really what happens? Like, I think she was at one of the first times it happens. What happened was the Community one.
Yeah.
And she was like, is this really what goes on? I never watched the Community.
It's pretty good. I watched it with Tom Russell actually a couple years ago.
Yeah. So like, I was like, I never got around to like seeing it and getting back to her on it, but like, a lot of times she'll be like, oh, there was a nerd thing on this thing, like thinking of you, haha. Like, you know.
Yeah, I mostly agree. I do think that more people being exposed to it is a good thing.
Yeah.
I also think that for the majority, which are people that are not familiar with tabletop RPGs, they don't see all of the inconsistencies and problems that we do. I think we are a lot more critical of it than anybody else would be. And so I think that a lot of the frustration, which I feel myself sometimes, is a bit unwarranted. Again, I always just tell myself at the end of the day, it's better that it's on there than it not.
Yeah.
You know. On Facebook, Eric M says, I think the media misses the heart of the games. The use of imagination, team building, building of social skills, and bonding with friends. I feel like they make the players' lives revolve around them in daily life when it is just another part of our lives. Media had crippled the lure of these games so badly for me that I was unable to even find a group to play with until adulthood. The more recent showing of how it is really cool and how many people of all walks of life play, but my own wife still scoffs at the idea every time I play a session because of media. And I can understand that. I mean, like, I think that it started off real bad. Like D&D in the media, tabletop RPGs in the media they had a real bad start. Like, if we could have just done a completely clean slate in like 1990 or something, I think that would have been great.
Sure.
We can't, unfortunately. So we gotta, we keep moving up. I think is the important thing.
We gotta roll with it.
There you go.
I hate it. I hate myself. I'm sorry, everybody.
So
I will be writing a formal apology on the Discord, which you can find at bit.ly/InterPartyDiscord.
Well, there you go. Eric, I definitely feel your pain. My wife thinks she knows nothing about D&D except that it is very nerdy. She probably knows a little bit more about it at this point, but
no, she just shouts nerd every once in a while.
Pretty much. And that's always been a thing. I wish it weren't, but hey, whatever.
I like it.
And then Haley, a friend of mine that we actually she was one of our friends we went on the cruise with.
Oh, cool.
Haley says, I really enjoyed seeing it in Stranger Things. It was endearing seeing a bunch of kids in the 80s playing an old school version. So yeah, I think that Stranger Things brought it to a lot of people's attention. We'll have some more comments about that in a moment. Yeah, I think it's generally it's really cool to see it.
Yeah.
On TV and stuff. Over on Reddit, we just got one. Pruno says, no such thing as bad exposure. Any opportunity to talk about D&D and bringing some people into the hobby is always good. I'm DMing in a group that never played tabletop before, and I would like to think Stranger Things and Critical Role contributed to their new interest.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Over on Twitter, at Thomas Stacy says, stereotypes seem to be played up quite a bit in media, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't get really exciting seeing tabletop gaming and TV shows and other media. More exposure means more players, which is always good. And yeah, I do agree. Yes, they play up the stereotypes, but I really think that's because they're not playing to the lowest common denominator, but they are playing to a group of people that doesn't know that there is nuance in D&D. So I think that it gives people, it gets more people to notice, which it's cheap, but hey, that's marketing. Everything does that.
Yeah. And this kind of like when you think about video games and media and stuff like that, or specifically something like virtual reality.
Yeah.
It is just like, apparently there's a Murder, She Wrote.
In virtual reality? Oh my goodness.
There's a Murder, She Wrote episode where virtual reality plays a part. I haven't seen it. I've just seen a picture of the main character wearing a virtual reality set, and it is silly.
Yeah.
It's silly. It's very silly.
Gotcha. Over on Discord, E. Thompson03 says, from what I see positively, it's been growing in popularity for years, and even a lot of celebrities, even masculine ones like Joe Manganiello, are showing that it's cool. The quote-unquote satanic stigma seems to more or less be dissipated as well. There are still people that do think it is satanic, which is a huge shame, but hey, whatever. People are stuck in their ways. You know, they'll do what they do.
No, there's always going to be people that you're never going to convince. Again, like my sister, like I can explain them to her.
Sure.
She'll have a better understanding, but still won't. Like, she still won't see it differently.
Okay.
Yeah, she's not going to change her opinion of it. She'll just have a better understanding of how nerdy it is. You know? Like,
I guess.
She's like, okay, I get it. It's really nerdy. Like, yeah,
right.
There's not much you can do.
Floofy Shoob brought up something that it got a bit of discussion on the Discord that I think was interesting. So Floofy Shoob said, I worry that it's becoming mainstream is not to its benefit. In the same way that the anime industry might have blossomed as a result of becoming more mainstream, I feel like there's a principle at work here where 80% of the new content is garbage and 20% of it was actually worth creating. I feel like mentioning gaming in Big Bang Theory and Stranger Things was done in a token way to rope in gamers to the benefit of the show, not the benefit of the hobby. Now,
yeah, I definitely, I get that.
I understand that.
Yeah.
And my response is Floofy Shoob, and this is, I've done no research into this, so for all I know, I could be wrong. But my impression has always been there's always been 80% of it was garbage.
Right.
It's just that now, like before,
now the 80% is a bigger number.
Well, now you're seeing some of that 80%. It used to be that you only ever saw the stuff that was so good everyone was talking about.
Sure.
It. Now you're seeing all of it.
Okay.
You didn't see the stuff that just fell off. Like, I always think with like 80s music, you think back to the 80s, oh man, 80s music was so good. How was it that all of the music from the 80s was so good?
Well, it's because you're only hearing the top charts.
Exactly. You're only hearing the stuff that's lasted 30 years.
Yeah. You're hearing like the best hits.
Exactly.
CDs and stuff like that.
You didn't, all that other stuff, that whole decade's worth of music you don't hear. Similarly, all the anime, all the D&D, all the tabletop gaming stuff that has always been bad, you don't hear about it because nobody is telling you about it.
Right. Yeah, I think you're right. It is that. And then it's also just like, because there's just more people and more people have more access to these things. Right. Like, because, more people are exposed to these things, more people are like, maybe I can do that. I kind of like that. I might be into that. And
what they're doing now might not be great, but in a few years, they're going to be getting better and better.
Sure.
I think that overall, the 20% that's worth seeing has gotten better and better and better over the years.
People say like video games aren't as good as they used to be. Like,
no, games are so much better than they used to be.
They're so detailed. There's so much craziness that goes in there. But it's just your expectation is evolving with the industry.
Right. And then also looking back at stuff, you've got nostalgia and everything that is making what might not have been great feel better.
Yeah. So like relative to the time, it was better. It's like, but you're still, you gotta understand that there's like billions of dollars in the industry now when there used to be maybe like a couple million, you know, like yes, it's more saturated with terrible.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that the good isn't getting better.
Right. I also feel that, saying that the gaming in Big Bang Theory and Stranger Things was done in a token way to get more viewers.
Technically, I feel like yes, in some way.
I don't know. I mean, I honestly don't know. I don't think that's something that we can say without insider information.
Sure.
With Stranger Things, I feel that it's not the case. I could be wrong, but it is there. I feel like there is so much of it that is like integral to the story. They call the monster from their D&D game.
Right.
And it sort of looks like the monster in their D&D game, and like the later seasons have played into more like, well, this is sort of like a D&D monster. Even if that happened later in development, it was still early enough in development that they were able to. It wasn't just, oh, we're just going to call this thing D&D and then let's write our own story and just slap D&D in it. I feel like my assumption, I could be wrong, but my assumption is that the creators play D&D and they can't make a D&D show, but they can make a show that they're able to make and then connect it to D&D in the way, in a way that they want.
Yeah, I feel like it was put in there lovingly. Like it was not like, oh, this is the nerdy show. We're going to put in stuff that nerds like so more nerds watch it.
Right. And that's Stranger Things. I have not heard.
Bazinga, am I right?
Good job, Jeff.
Where's the laugh track? Did you play the laugh? Did you put in the laugh track there?
There it is.
Thank you.
Now, I have not heard such. I haven't watched Big Bang Theory. I haven't watched it.
I saw the first season, but I have not watched it.
I have heard things from other gamers. I have heard negative things about it.
Yeah.
That make me feel opposite. I could be wrong. Again, I haven't done any research on this, but
like the thing is, it's like it's a comedy. It's a sitcom.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily a bad sitcom. I found it entertaining. Like I binged the first season and I laughed at it. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But like, that sort of like shift of like, oh, because it's a nerdy thing, but it's a sitcom that everybody watches. Mm-hmm. Like your mom watches this sitcom because it's on when she's home from work and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and it's got nerdy stuff. Oh, Jimmy's does that stuff too. He'll like this show, and so that's why people hate on it so much. I feel like is part of it. It's like it's just as lazy as writing as any other sitcom.
Yeah,
it's entertaining, but that's because it's a sitcom. It's like it's just a comedy show. It's got some cheesy jokes in it and some silly characters. Like, just sit down and enjoy it or don't. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. I'm sorry.
So they may be there in a token way. I don't know. I don't know if it's something that we can know at the moment. If it is, I still think it's doing good.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm always interested. Like this again. This is something that like I feel differently than Floofy Shoop, but I still am interested to hear what Floofy Shoop has to say. Hey everyone, Gabe here. Quick interjection. When we were recording this episode, we forgot to record next week's question. It was on the list. We just skipped over it by mistake, and then we have actually since recorded the following episode, and we forgot to record it then as well, so we couldn't just slot it in here. So anyway, this is me from the past or future, however you look at it, and I'm here to tell you that the discussion topic for next week is how do you visualize the planes in your home campaign? And what we mean by that is, do you use the Great Wheel visualization, or are they different planets? Are they different dimensions? Are they physical places in the world that you can dig to or swim to or climb to if you try hard enough? That sort of stuff. Also, just a short little thing next week, we're going to change up slightly how we do these questions. So stay tuned for that. However, it is also for that reason, it is very important that this episode, we couldn't just not have one this episode. So anyway, sorry about the confusion, and give us your answers next time. So I think that'll do it for our questions for today. So before we close out, let's take a deep breath. Let's remember those who have come before us playing races with ability scores and putting D&D in media. And let's remember them, how they may have made the world a better place as we toss another log onto the funeral pyre. So today's funeral pyre comes from Evil Sausage on Reddit.
Oh, man.
And Evil Sausage says, we were playing an old Dungeon Magazine adventure where we had infiltrated a giant floating diamond-shaped crystal dungeon.
Ooh.
This giant diamond was floating above a giant pool of lava. In the middle of the dungeon was a room with a large diamond floating in the air. The room was also a dragon's lair. We started battling the dragon, but greed overcame my thief, and while everyone was distracted by the melee, I made my move and leapt up and snatched the diamond from the air. This caused the crystal structure to begin to fall towards the lava. I made a run with the diamond. The dragon breathed. I failed my save and was turned to ash. The party magic user then cast Disintegrate on my ashes. I don't know. They don't say why.
Whoa.
The party and the dragon then hoisted the diamond back into place and stopped the plunge into the molten rock. They then
the party and the dragon did.
I
I
guess I didn't catch that detail.
Oh my goodness.
Oh boy. They then parlayed with the dragon and left on cautiously peaceful terms, short of a wish which everyone said would never happen for jeopardizing the lives of the party. There was no coming back for my thief. Okay, so that was a deliberate. I thought maybe it was just like the magic user missed or something, but no.
No, it was the rogue did something so dumb that it stopped the battle with the dragon.
And the rest of the party immediately worked together with the bad guy to undo the damage.
They were like, "Oh my god, we're so sorry. We're so sorry. Oh my goodness."
And even the dragon's like, "No, I understand.
No, I get it.
What a jerk.
What a jerk that guy was." Anyway, all right, you kids get out of here.
All right. Wow.
I like it a lot.
Well, I guess let's raise a glass in memory of the rogue that teaches us that diamonds are forever and so is Disintegrate. Clink. I guess it's not technically forever because they could have undone it, but they're not going to. All right. Well, that'll do it for today. To submit questions for us to discuss, items for the Dragon's Hoard, or stories for the funeral pyre, please email us at interpartyconflict@gmail.com. For show notes, links to media mentioned on the show, and running lists of questions and magic items, go to interpartyconflict.com. Join the discussion on social media. Find us on Facebook, facebook.com/interpartyconflict, on Reddit at r/interpartyconflict, on our Interparty Discord, or on Twitter at InPartyConflict for our weekly social media questions. Your answers might end up on the show. Find us on iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher, YouTube, anywhere you download podcasts. Please rate, review, subscribe, or just tell a friend. If you'd like to support the show, check out the rewards at patreon.com/interpartyconflict. There's a few different tiers, so anything you can spare, even $1 a month, would go towards making the show better, and you'll get bonus content for it. Jeff, tell us about FriendQuest.
FriendQuest is a YouTube channel where we play video games.
Yes. Speaking of video games, check out my side project, the Arcade Memories Podcast. If you'd like to submit your own childhood memories of going to the arcade, record them or write them to me at arcadememoriespodcast@gmail.com. Also, head over to bit.ly/interpartyconflict to take a short survey about our show. What you like, what you don't like, etc. And just for taking it, you'll get 2 free printable board games, courtesy of Mary and Tom over at hollandspiel.com. And our music is made by Boxcat Games from Nameless the Hacker's RPG. So, Jeff, until next time... Jeff?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not a Rakshasa, so silence does work on me.
Oh, boy.